Welcome to the Masterbooks podcast, where we bring you conversations that will strengthen your biblical worldview and the faith of your family. I'm Jennifer White, publicist at Masterbooks, a division of New Leaf Publishing Group. As host of this show, I'll be opening the doors to the Masterbooks family library of books, authors, and curriculum. For over 45 years, our company has been about one thing: ink on paper to touch eternity. In a world increasingly at war with God, we are publishing to partner with you to disciple your family, the church, and the nations. Well, hello and welcome to episode 2 of Masterbooks podcast. We are so glad you're with us today. Today, we are here to answer the question many people ask: is Masterbooks enough? I have invited Rachel Smith to join us for this episode because she has so many reasons why she knows if it's enough. Rachel was a teacher when she first got out of college. She taught in the school system and then became a homeschool mom later after that. And now she also works for Masterbooks. So she knows from every angle if Masterbooks enough. In fact, I would call her a Masterbooks expert. She's also a preacher's wife. So she has that biblical worldview already at work in her own life, in her own family. And so we are delighted to have you today, Rachel. Thank you for being a part of Masterbooks. Thanks for taking your time to share with our friends just your perspective, how you got started in education, and what led you to Masterbooks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Masterbooks for me, actually, we first found Masterbooks immediately after coming out of the classroom. We were at a very small homeschool convention, and the books just drew us to the table there. So that's how we first found Masterbooks. My husband actually was first drawn to the books, and just looking through them, the thought of that these were actually school books that my children could use. They were so engaging. So that was one of the big things that drew us to Masterbooks in the first place. The biblical worldview, as you already mentioned, of course, was huge for us as we were looking through, and we found out that Masterbooks' statement is ink on paper to touch eternity. So that right there immediately spoke to both my husband and I. And then for bringing my kids over to the tables and looking, like, they were amazed. These are school books. These are school books.
Good.
Whereas what they had been using before was not quite as engaging for them. Mm-hmm. So that is what first drew us to Masterbooks, was the biblical worldview, obviously, the mission statement, the beautiful books, and then, of course, the cost was great too.
Well, good. But tell us a little bit about your history as a teacher. You taught first, and then you've done more things in education.
Yes. I began teaching right out of school, right out of college. I'm the one who all through my life went to school, came home and played school. I love learning, and I love being a teacher. I love seeing that light bulb go off with my students. Being in the classroom was just something that I did not take for granted, because I knew that I was getting to make an impact, not just as far as educating, but even in their lives. I knew that I was able to touch them and hopefully influence them in a good way. So I loved being a teacher. But then my youngest son started having some learning struggles that I was noticing. And I was actually the anti-homeschooler beforehand. And but I knew that his needs needed to be met, and I felt like he needed an individualized education. I didn't want to see him continuing in the school system and just being pushed forward and not having his needs met. So I began looking into homeschooling. I knew that was completely of the Lord, because it would not have been of me. And so honestly, wanting to meet my own child's needs is what drew me into the homeschool community. And I know that was totally of the Lord.
I love that. And I love your story about, coming home from school and then playing school. I did that to my brother. He was my student for so many years. And if I couldn't get him to play with me, I would line up my dolls and teach them. I never played with them. I just taught them.
Yeah, I have those same experiences. Yes.
So you also work for Masterbooks. So tell our friends that are watching or listening today about your role at Masterbooks.
I am a customer service supervisor, so I get to speak with all of the customers on the phone and through emails. I actually began with the Masterbooks working through the social media, through Facebook, and answering questions there. I I love being able to help the other moms. I love being able to be an encouragement. It's definitely I definitely view it as more than just a job personally,
Mm-hmm.
because it is something that every day, a passion of mine is just to be an encouragement to other moms, especially to other homeschooling moms. And I get to do that every day, and I
That's
love it.
so great. I love it. Well, you're an encouragement to our staff for sure. And your work with Masterbooks all day, not every day all day, but you are in the curriculum answering questions. So
Hmm.
you have had a chance to look at all the books, talk
Yeah.
to hundreds, thousands of people over the last few years where you have done this job. So I would love for you to help answer the question, is Masterbooks enough? Has it been enough for your family? And the questions, like the heart behind that question that the other moms may be asking, and hearing from other people. What makes people ask the question, is Masterbooks enough? And from your experience, as a homeschool mom and as a customer service supervisor, how is it enough?
From my own personal experience, I have four children. I have my two oldest are now college students, and
Okay.
then I have a high school student and a middle school student still at home. And we began using Masterbooks coming from another curriculum, a very rigorous curriculum. In my classroom, I used a very rigorous curriculum. I, of course, came home in the beginning of homeschooling, doing school at home,
Mhm.
and had in my mind that a certain way is how things had to be. And then we began looking into Masterbooks and started using Masterbooks, and it seemed like, oh my goodness. And I had the same question. There's no way this is enough, because the lessons are lighter,
Okay.
as far as they are more hands-on, they're more out of the box. And that, honestly, I quickly saw in my children that they were actually retaining more. Previously, they were just memorizing for a quiz or
Mhm.
memorizing for a test, memorizing to answer the questions. Whereas when we began using Masterbooks, even though the lessons seemed shorter, the material was more engaging. And at the dinner table, they were talking with us and conversing. They were excited about what they were
Oh,
learning. And so that's when it just kind of clicked on me. I'm questioning this. I'm questioning the amount of problems they have every day, but yet they're speaking with me more regularly and conversing with me about what they've learned. And it's not because they had to memorize it, it's because they've actually learned it. They're retaining it. So I started to see that love of learning coming, which is actually the goal. The goal is to have learning, not just memorization.
right.
And then also, I had to remind myself that in the classroom, I might have 30 problems on a page because I had to get around the classroom to help everybody. And I needed
Mhm.
everybody else to be busy while I was helping. I was helping someone in the front. I needed to make sure the students in the back were occupied and that they weren't having that time to get in trouble. And so I needed more problems for the class. But then there were also days in my classroom where I would, let's only do the odds, let's only do the evens, and I would take things away as I needed for my classroom. So I
Mhm.
realized that Masterbooks is written for the homeschooling family. It's not written for the classroom. So
Sure.
having less in there, you're dealing with those few students in your home, and your children are able to master things more without having all of that.
Mhm.
And I saw that they were actually mastering concepts and retaining them for longer and
Mhm.
enjoying it, which was huge. And so, as far as also working with other moms and with the customers, we get lots of feedback about customers who are taking their standardized testing, and students are testing average and well above average with doing master books. My own children going into college, my girls tested amazingly with college entrance exams. They're doing well in college. They're very successful students. And, so yeah, from my personal experience, absolutely, master books is enough. I have successful children. My third child is actually already still at home, but beginning college classes and doing well in those. And so absolutely, it's definitely enough.
Wonderful to hear. I love that. And I love that you have the perspective from your own children who have individual educational needs.
Yes.
You came home because one of your children had needs that weren't being served at school, but not everybody had that. So what I see in master books, and what I think some people ask about the curriculum is, okay, it might be because it's less or not as heavy that it's good for students who maybe are a little behind or struggle. But tell us a little bit about your experience with students who don't struggle, who are going to college, who need that full education experience in order to do well in college, like your kids have done.
Yeah. Yes. My older children, my girls especially, they love learning through school. They were competitive, if you want to say.
Okay.
And so they definitely exceeded in education. And so for them, even master books was challenging for them. One of the good perks for us was that they had the opportunity to choose. It wasn't just, here's your grade, these are the subjects you have to take. There were, the Master Books offers multiple different courses.
Sure.
And so they had that opportunity to choose what they wanted to learn. Here are your history options. Which history would you like? That they loved that. They loved that challenge in that ownership of picking for themselves, but then also they were able to work at their own pace throughout the course. It's written for the student. So I once they reached high school level, I really just became a test grader for them because they were able to, the schedule so easy to follow. They were able to jump in there and get their work done and work ahead, work at their own pace as they needed. And the different approaches that Master Books offers to education within the different courses, it brought them more thinking. They had better thought processes through different ways to show different types of learning and express themselves in different ways. It wasn't all just read and answer questions. So they were challenged in those ways of, rather than just reading and answer questions or reading and memorizing, they were challenged in other ways, other out of the box approaches to learning, analyzing, narrating, essays, as well as, projects, all kinds of things that challenged them. And we had different options in choosing those things. So those challenges for them and that being able to take ownership of their responsibility of their learning was exactly what they needed.
Great. And what I'd love to do is have you back on the show another time to talk about the career path for students who want to go to college, desire to have a career that requires college, and other students who don't want to go to college. And so how Master Books can supply both of those needs. We definitely want to have you back and talk about that when we have more time.
Absolutely.
So one of the things, because you mentioned the biblical worldview before and our mission as ink on paper to touch eternity, I'd love to hear your thoughts about our curriculum. And if you think that this curriculum, that students being discipled at home by their parents, using our curriculum that is grounded in the word, helping them defend their faith, if it could change the world, if it could ignite the Great Commission in this generation and the next generation.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly believe that as a parent, our greatest mission field is within our home. And sometimes we get so bogged down in the day to day, and we think that what we're doing is just not important as moms. And, I'm just a mom, or I just stay at home with my kids. But yet that is actually the greatest opportunity that we have, that the Lord has given to us. Discipling our children and sharing Christ with them, and raising children that know what they believe and why they believe it, and have a personal relationship with Christ, is definitely something that's going to impact the world for Christ.
Absolutely.
And Masterbooks gives great opportunity for that. We have so many amazing courses that are schooling, to me, should be a support of what you're already teaching within your home. And Masterbooks, for my family especially, has offered that great support, that great biblical worldview, definitely that ink on paper to touch eternity that we already desired for our home, and we needed tools to help us. And Masterbooks has been an amazing fit into our home to help us reach those goals with our children and for their lives for Christ. And we hoped, as we launched them out, that they're going to go change more lives for Christ.
Absolutely. They will be able to defend their faith and stand fast in the day of evil. And, who knows what the Lord will do to reward your faithfulness in educating them and discipling them in the Word of God, and how the Holy Spirit can use that in the times that we live in.
Yeah.
I'm amazed when I think about it. Now we are to a section that I really enjoy, called Off the Shelf and Into Your Heart. This is an opportunity for our guests to share with you, our listeners, what book has impacted them the most from the Masterbooks catalog, how it has affected their heart, the heart of their family. So Rachel, we would love to hear which book you want to share with others that has impacted your heart and your family.
My book is Education, Does God Have an Opinion? You can even see like all of my tabs
I love
here.
that.
This book by Israel Wayne took me from being in the classroom to true homeschooling family. It changed my heart. Before, when I began homeschooling, again, I told you it was just, I had a child that I knew needed individualized education, but it wasn't necessarily that I thought I was always going to do that. I think when I began, I thought, we'll get to a certain place and then we can go back. But reading this book helped me to realize I have as the greatest responsibility to educate my children, and God has given me that. And this book helped me to see that that was a responsibility that God had given to me. I knew the relationships that I had with my students, the amount of time that I got to spend with them. And I saw how much time I was giving away to others with my children, and precious discipling time. This is definitely a book, again, mission statement, ink on paper to touch eternity. This book truly changed me. It converted me from to that homeschooling family, and gave me, again, ignited just within me even more of a passion to share and encourage other moms that if you have a desire to do this, you can do this. God has equipped us all. It doesn't matter what our background is, what our education is. As a mom, as a parent, you can do this. And this book helped me to realize that that was something that God had given to me and that I could do it.
I love that. I love that book. And we hope to have the author, Israel Wayne, on the podcast soon. In the Masterbooks app, we have a book club. And right now, the book club has been going through that book together. And I love seeing the comments. I love that book is impacting, the truths in the book are impacting the moms of Masterbooks and their families so much. So thanks for sharing that with us. Well, friends, thank you so much for being with us for episode 2 of the Masterbooks podcast, where we are opening the door to the library of Masterbooks books, curriculum, and the authors and the experts to help you win at homeschooling. This is our delight to be here with you on a regular basis, sharing things that will help you enjoy life, enjoy homeschooling, and love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength, and your family as well. And so we thank you for partnering with us to take our mission of ink on paper to touch eternity out into your family and into your world. And I pray in Jesus' name that the Lord would bless you fully, reward you for doing that.
Hey, thanks for joining the Masterbooks podcast. This was fun, and we are really glad you were with us. We invite you to check out masterbooks.com. We have a big library of books that will feed the faith of your family. And hey, subscribe to our channel so you won't miss an episode. We'll see you next time.